Which started, I think, in 2008, 2009, when we did some research for the BBC Trust and Audience Council Wales, which was looking at the impact of what was then a really new development. Doctor Who, Torchwood, the rise of kind of new television drama being filmed in Cardiff. And what we were commissioned to do was to try and understand what the impact of that development had been, and whether audiences in Wales felt like they were being well served on the back of that development. So on the one hand, we could see that Cardiff has become a huge centre for TV drama production, the new BBC Drama Studios in Roath, but also just the attraction of investment in filming for both television and film in Cardiff and South Wales more generally. And at the same time, what was coming out in the audience research we did back in 2009, and which I think has become more and more of a public debate in the years since, is a lack of representation of Wales in a range of different genres, including drama, but also science, the arts, comedy. So a real concern that actually there's been huge cuts in terms of the kind of production of Welsh television that shows Wales to itself.
The work we did with Wizard and with the Institute of Welsh Affairs starting last summer was really much more focused on the great civic questions that I think that are linked to broadcasting and media provision, looking specifically from the point of view of Wales and the evolving polity, really, the fact that we've had devolution now for quite a long period, since 1999. But it seems to me that there's a paradox, because as the pace of devolution accelerates, the coverage of life in Wales is diminishing. And we've got a real problem, I think, because we could end up in a situation where we have very uninformed citizens. The Institute of Welsh Affairs, for example, in some research found that over 50% of people in, say, in Cardiff didn't know that responsibility for health was a matter that had been devolved. It was a matter for the Welsh Health Minister. They thought it was a matter just for the Westminster government. So really, that's, if you've got that fairly basic level of lack of information, it has quite profound implications, really, for how life in Wales will develop. The media's got a role in that. It's not just the media. I think that the media needs to work with politicians and with civic society, really, to develop and to fill that information gap.
Bringing the different reports into discussion and the different recommendations into discussion. This made the image clearer about what are the issues that media in Wales face, including language, like both languages need to be present, as well as the image of Wales as a country, not only in the news and in relation to journalism, but also in relation to more creative creative programs. We had that time to really focus on what has worked, what hasn't worked, as well as because of my experience with Greek public TV as part of my own research, we could see that sometimes the issues are the same. So it's worth to look at different countries and foreign media to see how they resolve the problem.
I think there's something about trying to pull all of the media together rather than just looking at journalism in the press or just looking at TV drama. When you bring it all together, you see the scale of the problem. So on the one hand, when you look back from 2015 to 2008, and so much has changed. The growth of social media. You know, in 2008 we weren't all tweeting in the same way that many of us now are. But the decline across so many different media forms, I think, in the quality of provision for Wales. And it's when you see it in the round that you really get a sense of the detrimental effect that that potentially has.
We brought together all the different reports that exist to see what different recommendations are out there for the main issues facing the media in Wales. I think what I really found interesting was the fact that the issues are the same with Wales media and, for example, Greek media or other countries' media, that also recommendations are very similar, not only within the different reports in Wales, but also in a larger scale in other foreign countries.
And it's been really fascinating to compare the experience in Wales with other small nations, including the Nordic countries, because there's a very different ethos there. You know, the idea of having a public subsidy for the press is completely acceptable, in the way that we accept that there should be public service broadcasters, but in the UK it's almost unthinkable to imagine public subsidy for the press. And my counterparts from Norway and Denmark just don't understand why that's a problem in the UK. So it's revealing in that sense, and I think that is something that the Centre for Media and Culture in Small Nations can offer, is a commitment to taking the situation in Wales seriously, but to be able to put it in a wider context and to learn from other small nations, really. And that's something that I hope we can continue to do and take that further in coming years, really.
The Wizard grant is important in this context, because what Wizard enabled us to do was to take a bit of an overview of how policy has developed over the last decade. In that time, there's actually been a lot of debate through a whole host of agencies and public bodies at a political level, both at Westminster and in Cardiff Bay, and also through at an academic level as well. And we would put a draft of the report out online for a month beforehand for publication and encourage a collaborative approach, encourage people to contribute and to comment and then adapt the report, especially if new facts came to light. I also produced questionnaires for the radio industry and also for print. But in print, interestingly, initially Media Wales weren't terribly interested. But once the consultation period happened, when we put the material online, they became much more engaged and they said, you are really missing a trick. You need to look at the phenomenal impact something like Wales Online is having and the hits that are being picked up there. And there are huge issues about how you measure these things, and it's not clear because it's such a young and new industry, really. Nobody's really sure how to evaluate an online presence. So as the circulations of press diminish, it looks as if there's been a parallel rapid take-up of online. And I appreciate that means that as a business, they've had to really rethink the way they operate. And these technologies are challenging conventional business models, and businesses need to adapt or die, really.
And so that was a component element of the overall media audit report, which the IWA published, and which I think has made quite a significant impact, both when it was launched at the summit in 2015, but also in providing policymakers, campaigners, professionals within the industries with a much more robust evidence base for the kinds of arguments that people are having about the future of media in Wales.